Hello from the Dukascopy TV studio in Geneva. We are talking about the WTO's Information Technology Agreement and why it is relevant right now with Tatjana Sachse. She is associate from Sidley Austin LLP. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you.
So could you outline what is the Information Technology Agreement about and what are we talking about right now in this agreement?
In essence, the Information Technology Agreement aims to eliminate tariffs on certain IT products, information technology products that are within the scope. Now, what are we talking about? We're talking about semiconductor manufacturing technologies, we're talking about computers, hardware, as well as software. We're also talking about certain telecommunications technologies. And now, what does that really mean in practice, eliminate tariffs? Now, what that means, I think, is two things mainly. A, of course, or the first one, it means cheaper access to those technologies for the consumers, also for manufacturers. Because import tariff basically means a certain percentage on imported products is being added to the price. Now, if you eliminate those tariffs, of course, then the product as a consequence would become cheaper. So you and I as a consumer, we would be able to buy those products cheaper. But what it also means for manufacturers is that certain input products, for example, semiconductors, would become cheaper. So it's not only cheaper to manufacture, but it's also good for innovation. So for example, it would reduce the R&D cost. When you develop a new product, if your input is cheaper, then of course also research development then becomes cheaper. And I think also the second main point is it would boost the economy, it would boost trade in those products. Now, what would that mean? It would mean, of course, when there's more trade in products going across borders, it creates jobs. And just to give you an example of really the impact the agreement had, because I think some of the agreements are criticized for not being very impactful, but usually people don't really have the numbers. Now, I think especially with the Information Technology Agreement, the impact really is quite impressive. Since the agreement was signed in 1996, trade in IT products has actually tripled to almost 1.6 trillion US dollars annually today. Now, in the beginning, there were 29 participants. Today, there's over 80 participating countries, and that covers almost 97% of global trade in those products today. Now, if you think of tariffs being reduced on 97% or on products that form part of that large and very significant industry, really the impact is quite significant. And to go to your question as to why are we talking about it now? Now, as I mentioned, the agreement has been concluded in 1996, so that's already a while ago. Now, in 2012, it was the 15th anniversary of the agreement, and there was a symposium held at the World Trade Organization, the WTO, and some governments said that it was time to revise the agreement because technologies that were included in 1996 are of course still relevant today, but there's many technologies, because the industry is so fast moving, that weren't even on the horizon. To give you an example, if you're looking at, for example, certain medical technologies, pacemakers at the time, heart pacemakers, which are a common feature or common technology used nowadays, weren't just getting acceptance in the 1990s. Other technologies, such as deep brain stimulators, which is in essence a pacemaker for the brain, weren't even envisaged at the time. So really the idea is after 15 years, they have started negotiations to expand the product scope, to bring in products that have since been developed and to bring the agreement literally, for lack of a better term, into the 21st century.
Thank you. So what is the range of product that is to be included in this agreement now?
There is certain products that have been suggested by the participating governments. They include things such as medical devices. As I mentioned, pacemakers, deep brain stimulators. We're also talking about MRIs. We're talking about, for example, liquid crystal displays. We're talking about some of the cutting-edge technologies that have been developed in the past year.
Could you give an example what it would mean at the end if these devices were included in the agreement?
I think what it would mean is not only, as I mentioned, would it boost the economy, but I think it would also be good for health, because let's say there is a patient in a country and needs a pacemaker or needs a deep brain stimulator. What it means is for the average person, for the Joe Smith, for you and I, is you get cheaper access to those products once the agreement, of course, is concluded.
Mm-hmm. So what is the current status of the negotiation now?
They have started negotiating just about 3 years ago. They have made significant progress. They have also narrowed some of the gaps. The last round of negotiations was in December 2014, so just over 4 months ago. There has been disagreement with respect to 1 or 2 issues that are, of course, significant to the particular members involved. Now, what that means is the members in the end couldn't agree as to what specific products should be included in the agreement. There has been very constructive engagement up until December. What is worrying perhaps is that since December not much has been happening, but a lot is currently being conducted or happening in the background. Governments are talking to each other, and they're trying to resolve differences in order to bring the agreement to a successful conclusion, hopefully by the end of this year. And I think, as the song probably goes, we are far away but so close, but we all hope that this year will be the year when the agreement will be concluded.
Very interesting, and it's a long-term approach you need there. To sum this up, so what would the agreement on information technology mean to facilitate trade and to help to foster innovation, and what role does the WTO have, in your point of view?
I think it would be probably before benefits, to sum it up. It would not only boost, of course, world trade and the economy by facilitating trade in those products across the globe, by fostering jobs, by fostering also innovation, because the input products are much cheaper, so there can be more cutting-edge technology with cheaper input products. I think that's probably the first impact it would have. I think the second impact is also it is good for developing countries. When the agreement was signed, exports of IT products by developing countries were approximately 31%. Now, since then, it has doubled to approximately 64%, and you can only imagine if more products are included in an agreement, that means that exports from developing countries in those products would go up even further. So it would also be good for development. I think, as a third point, I think it would also be good for health. Of course, I've talked about some of the medical technologies that would be included, so it would be cheaper access to healthcare, cheaper access to those products. And I think, as a fourth issue with respect to the WTO, it would show that you've seen a lot of probably negative press about the relevance of the WTO, that some negotiations are, in the eyes of some people, maybe lasting longer than they should. But why whatever benchmark those people apply as to what should be long enough or short enough. But I think this agreement really shows that the WTO is still relevant, that it can deliver on 21st century issues. IT technology is one of the, I think, fastest growing sectors. And today it accounts for approximately 6% of global GDP. So a very relevant sector, a big sector, and also, of course, cutting edge technology such as iPads, such as pacemakers, miniature technologies, and so on. And I think it also has a broader impact, not only for this particular sector, but it could also lead some impetus to the broader WTO negotiations. Now, if this agreement was successfully concluded, it would build bridges, it would restore some of the much needed confidence on the part of negotiators that they can deliver, that agreement, consensus is possible, which would then, of course, hopefully also contribute to stimulating consensus or stimulating confidence that a broader agreement in the WTO is also possible.
So this means the current ITA negotiations are important to follow and also relevant for all of us. Tatjana Sachse from Sidley Austin LLP here in Geneva, thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
And thanks for watching. Do make sure to keep clicking back on the Dukascopy TV website for latest updates and exclusive interviews. Have a great day and see you next time.